So you just introduced the next part of the hypergrowth model is we represent the customer, right? So in one way, a lot of companies, you think about it, like sales lots of times feels like they own it because they're having conversations with prospects every single day, right? Customer success, they own the relationship with the customer and they're having conversations with it. But the sales team, they're in a sales environment. And it was interesting. There was a study that Gong did, and they looked at over 4,000 sales conversations. What they came up with is that the sales rep talks 2/3 to 3/4 of the time. And it's an environment where you're selling, right? So there's a shield. If this conversation I was trying to sell you something, right, it'd be a very different environment, right? You'd be more guarded in what you're doing. You would never design a learning program about your customers and run it through a sales process. That's just not the way that you would design that to happen. You wouldn't run it through a customer success process either. They're trying to put out fires. They're trying to answer questions. They're trying to cross sell and upsell, right? They're genuinely trying to learn, but you wouldn't say, that's the way I would design a learning program about the customer. So when you say we own the voice of the customer, that really is something that is a priority that we need to move up on our list because that's the highest voice of authority in the business, right? It's actually what most CMOs say gives them the right to be at the seat of the table, right? Because if you're representing the voice of highest authority, that trumps everything. That trumps the opinions, the perspectives of everybody in the room. If you've heard of Amazon, they actually have an empty chair policy, which kind of started before COVID, right? But it's now the virtual empty chair where they literally have an empty chair in the room or virtually that represents if the customer were here in this meeting, how would that be influencing the decisions we're making? That's the voice of highest authority. How do you gather the voice of highest authority? How do you get voice of customer, right? And be that expert and then share that within the company.
I think that is essential if you're talking growth anywhere, right? If you have a product that there's no market for, you're never going to grow. So you're either going to have to adapt it by making sure you deliver to your customers what they want, or you're going to die. There's no question in the fact that customer success, account management, they own the relationship, the one-to-ones, etc. But I think what marketing does is it looks at the bigger picture, right? It will actually look at and say, this isn't about who's screaming the loudest, which client is screaming the loudest, which account manager is screaming the loudest. We look at the perspective and try to build trends. And the trends can also come from outside. And that's where everything around insights, business insight, competitor watch, where the world is heading. How is that going to impact customers? What are they going to want? Not today, but in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years. All of that is what makes up the voice of the customer. I would never pretend to know I know a customer better than an account manager or customer success. No way. That is not what I'm trying to do. But I want to make sure I have the right relationship with the account manager that enables me to bring in some of these representative clients to the table and share what they need. There's so many ways you can do that. You've got the tools, you've got the quick surveys, you've got the product advisory boards, you've got the one-on-ones. It depends where you are, what you want to do, what the resources you have. But you have to have that pulse on what's happening outside, for sure.